Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Edge, the podcast where your host, Gagye, that's me, introduces listeners to the trailblazing journeys of midlife female entrepreneurs who are reshaping the landscape of business. Diving deep into the world beyond corporate confines, this podcast illuminates the audacious path of women who've embraced the entrepreneurial spirit, launching into the exhilarating yet challenging realm of starting their own businesses. From the initial leap of faith to the ongoing journey of growth and self-discovery, our guests share not just their successes, but the real unvarnished experiences of building a business from the ground up. Each episode of The Entrepreneurial Edge is a treasure trove of actionable insights from midlife women with 15 plus years of experience in business, offering listeners guidance on navigating marketing hurdles, employing effective business strategies, and ensuring their business aligns with their deepest values and goals. Our conversations aim to empower you to build a venture that doesn't just succeed financially, but fulfills your desire for freedom and purpose. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or simply curious about the entrepreneurial journey, this podcast offers the inspiration, tools, and community you need to forge your own path. If the stories of pioneering women entrepreneurs spark your curiosity, or if you're navigating your own entrepreneurial journey and have insights to share, we'd love to hear from you. Visit us at tracerstrategicmarketing.com/podcast to learn more or become a part of our inspiring community. Subscribe to the Entrepreneurial Edge podcast today and be part of a movement of midlife women who are not just participating in the world of business, but actively defining it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, where everybody's listening today. Whether you're in the car, doing laundry, taking a run, going for a walk, managing chaotic kids in your house. My name is Gagye. This is the Entrepreneurial Edge, and I am so glad you're here. We are talking with Yarden Carroll today. Yarden and I met through the Thrive Her program, which is an intensive all-women's program for newly arrived entrepreneurs who recently left corporate or are about to leave corporate, starting to do their own thing with their subject matter expertise. So without further ado, I'm happy to introduce Yarden Carroll. Take it away. Introduce yourself to us, my friend.
Hi, Dawn. Thank you so much. So I am Yarden Carroll. I am the CEO of Crowne Creative. I have a very unique background. My career originally started in nursing. When I was about mid-20s, I started nursing mainly because of my grandmother. She was diagnosed with cancer. So I just saw her deteriorate very fast. So I wanted to become a caregiver. But once I entered that field, I realized it was not for me. So I transitioned into customer service, which led me into the career path that I'm in now, which is in the utility sector. Once I got my foot in the door there, mid-20s, I learned of various opportunities within my role that I was able to climb the corporate ladder. They would actually pay for my education, and they paid for two of my degrees, which is my electrical engineering degree and my marketing degree, which led me to become a utility designer, which is underneath electrical engineering. And we basically lay the groundwork and maintain the utilities for underground and overhead services. We build out the grid for commercial and residential services. I also work with contractors and larger corporations to help maintain the services that we currently have or any new construction. So I'm transitioning into marketing. I've always had a background with project management within the current field that I'm in, but I love data and I love processes. I just wanted to bridge the gap. So, which is really what brought me into marketing. So that's pretty much what made me create Crowne Creative, because I'm a creative at heart. I love to write, but I was able to just bridge the gap between my love for data, project management, processes, systems, and creativity. So that's how I came up with Crowne Creative.
I love the name of your business, by the way. It's so good. It's so you. It's so on brand for you.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, and I think there's something really special about what you're doing and how unique that is. I think it's not a common thing for someone to have strengths in both the data analytics area and that side of the mind, and also the creative and the marketing area. And what you're offering, I'm sure, to your future customers is something that's going to be extremely helpful and remarkable. I'm so excited to see where this goes for you. And you are really relatively early on in your journey. So I wanted to ask my first question to you, which I like to remind everybody listening or tuning into the podcast for the first time. I ask every guest on my podcast this question because it's all about an origin story and what really inspired someone to start on this path to entrepreneurship. So that question is, tell me about the day you decided to take the leap into becoming an entrepreneur.
So I've always had an itch because I kind of get bored really fast, which is why I've transitioned into so many different career paths. I start a lot of things and I finish them really fast because I get really bored, but I'm really interested in what is the outcome? What is the end result that I can
Mm,
deliver? And so I just have a hard time with once I figure something out, if it's not challenging, if it comes too easy, it's just, I can't continue on. So I get that from my father. My mom is a doer, my dad was a dreamer. So
mm,
together, I got the best of both worlds. But during the early part of the pandemic, my father actually, a week before he passed away, we had a lot of meaningful conversations where I don't know if
mm,
he knew he was going to die, but he kind of enlightened me a lot in regards to past regrets and letting go of a lot of rocks, is what he called them, where
mm,
he forgave himself because he
mm,
really wanted to pursue a lot of things in his life, but he didn't. He congratulated me on starting and finishing a lot of things, even though he knew that I wasn't really interested in those things. He said, if there's anything that I really want to do, that I need to, follow my dreams and not let anything really hold me back. A week later, he actually passed away
mm.
from COVID. And during the pandemic, I was literally sitting with my thoughts
Yeah.
because most of us were. So
Yeah.
I went back to school, got my marketing degree. That was the beginning of me taking the leap. July of last year is when I actually decided that I was going to move forward because I had been thinking about it for quite some time, but I was just always scared of going out on my own. I've always built a lot of foundations for everyone else, but I've never really built anything of my own and launched it of my own because I'm afraid. Who isn't afraid? And even though I've been afraid, or I'm still afraid, I just felt like I owe it to myself and to my dad to just kind of move forward and just do what I love and do what I can to kind of see where it takes me.
Mm. I think that's so powerful. Your story, and first of all, my heart breaks for you. I think anyone who's suffered the loss of a parent, I can't directly empathize with that, but my heart goes out to you. And what a beautiful way to take that inspiration and that message and lesson from your dad and rumble with that fear of starting something new and the courage that it takes to go forward anyway and explore those things because of how your father inspired you. I think that must give you the energy to kind of keep going when you don't know if you want to keep going forward in this pursuit of entrepreneurship. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would imagine that there's all those moments that entrepreneurs have. Should I still be doing this? Why am I doing this? Does this make sense anymore? And that's when you kind of have to reach down into yourself and your soul and ask, why would I not continue? When you have someone like that story of your dad, or, that you need to, for whatever reason, to continue on and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. So I just wanted to share how inspiring it is for me to hear your story of courage to keep going. I think that is just so powerful. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I know that we've talked offline before, Yarden, about this special gift that I think you have with the ability to see a journey and a project from beginning to end far in advance of a lot of other people. I think you have some extremely valuable project management chops. I'm not sure if that's on the horizon for you to integrate into your marketing mix, whatever you decide to offer. And I'd love to hear more if you'd like to share. I know that you're focusing on that right now and exploring what is that thing that you're going to create and solve for people who struggle with a marketing matter, or maybe it's a project management matter. Do you have any more insight on that you'd want to share with us today?
Yes. So right now I'm working on an offer. I think as women, we often have a lot of overwhelm just naturally because we juggle so many different hats, whether it's motherhood, just maintaining a household, wifely duties, whatever it is, career, everything is extremely overwhelming. However, we are just taught and it's naturally ingrained in us that we have to handle everything with grace. And I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about you, I got 3 boys and I have a husband, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I just have to go and hide in my bathroom and I have to just cry because I just don't know like how on earth it's just so chaotic. So I think
Yeah.
like I always think about how chaotic everything is in life, just in
Mm-hmm.
general. And my mind is just always going. So in my job, I always have to think about how chaotic these processes are. And I
Mm-hmm.
just always want to simplify it and streamline it. I think when people think of marketing, they only think of selling and sales and making more money. And instead, they don't think of the consumer and the buyer's journey from start to
Mm-hmm.
finish. And
That's right.
in the industry that I'm in, which is the utility industry, we call it meter to cash.
Mm-hmm.
So we start to build a customer, which from the time they turn the light switch on, time that meter starts rolling, to the time we get the cash in our hand, we send out the bill. Those the cycle is just a never ending cycle. So
Mm.
if you think about it in retrospect, the customer journey is never ending. So
Yeah,
do you want
that's
your
right.
customer to be a repeat customer? So I think marketing is just it's a circle. It's just never ending.
Mhm.
Because if
Mhm.
they don't buy from you, they're gonna go on to somebody else and buy.
Mhm.
So ultimately, the goal is to look at it as a project,
Mhm.
streamline all your systems and operations. That way, your customer's happy, you're happy, and everything is just seamless. It's not chaotic, and you alleviate and eliminate the overwhelm, and everything is just simple. Sales
Yeah.
is simple, customer service is simple, invoicing is simple, just everything is just simple. So ultimately my offer is going to simplify and streamline marketing systems and operations, which ultimately will simplify the sales and effortless launches for consultants and coaches in 90 days or less. My goal is to build them a system that is going to streamline all of their marketing and their operations within 90 days or less. Now,
Mhm.
what they do with that after I build it for them, they have to have good copy, they have to have good creative. I
Mhm.
can only help you build the system to implement it, and you have to have all the other components.
It's so good. I love what inspired it. You went to the heart of your home and experience as a leader in your home, essentially, wife, mom, to extrapolating that into the experience that you have had in your current industry and role and extrapolated out of it. I can do this in lots of different environments
Right.
using a marketing framework. And I think that is so powerful and real, right? It sounds like you're going to be targeting coaches and consultants.
Yes.
And I think that a large majority of them are going to have that firsthand personal experience, even if you're not a parent, even if you're just running a household. You could be
Right.
single, married, whatever. you're part of a caregiver team for your parents or somebody in your family, like you're experiencing that chaos, right?
Right.
So who wouldn't want an opportunity to make that more simple and less overwhelming, and using that kind of emotional journey and feeding it into the thought and the process of the customer journey, which I love that you touched on that. I feel like as a fellow marketing peer who does something similar, there's no magic bullet. It's really important to call out there are no magic marketing bullets. And the things that you're going to be creating are very dynamic and intentional, but you're utilizing the complexity and the dynamics about that because of your subject matter expertise to create a simple to use structured framework to help
Mhm.
these people. So you're
Right.
looking for a perfect person that you're going to serve with this wonderful simplified process to help them get their marketing chaos under control. And I feel like there's a lot of people in that arena of coaches and consultants who actually feel that. I mean, I also serve that same market. And I think a lot of people are like, well, why would you have somebody on your podcast that does the same thing? He's like, why not? There needs to be a lot more of us. And there are a lot of different approaches that we can take to solving this common challenge of, business people feeling chaos around marketing. So I welcome and invite fellow peers like you to the table. And, we collaborate all the time. We, meaning the larger we marketing people.
Right.
How could I not have other marketing experts in my circle? And I lean into them. I don't know everything, nor does anyone else know everything there is to know about marketing. And even in my other world of professional expertise as a photographer, I have been a photographer for 20 years. And most people are like, oh my God, I had no idea. Well, I do have that experience and I utilize that in my marketing work. When people need
Right.
headshots or food photography, I can do that. It's not my primary offer, but in
Right.
that world of photography, the point being, I still have mentors in the world of photography 20 years later. I'm still learning how to elevate my craft to a level of excellence. I still have to learn things because the technology is changing there frequently, just like it is in marketing. And there's always something to learn, right? So I love hearing what you're doing with your new offer, Yarden. It's so
I
good. Tell
I
me,
just
tell me.
wish that I could, it's like on paper, I can just map it out and it's clear. But in my mind, it's just like, because just that's just how my mind goes. So, like,
Mhm.
mind mapping and concept maps and just brainstorming on paper, and that that's just how I can do it that way. But I can't,
Yeah.
and don't ask me to explain it like verbally. It's very hard for me to explain it. But if I can paint a picture for you, oh, it flows, and that's my creative aspect. That's what I can give to you. I can
Yeah.
bring that to you.
I can imagine that's how a lot of people feel. They have that like madness of the mind, right? The chaos in there. And until they actually put it down on paper, I'm a big fan of that. I don't know if you do this, Yarden, but do you like whiteboards and big pieces of
Mhm.
paper to
Yes,
physically manipulate your thoughts? Yeah,
yes,
I'm a whiteboard girl. In my last corporate role before I came into this version of entrepreneurship, my one request when I started was, can I have a big whiteboard in my office? And I think I was completely speaking the CEO's language. I had no idea, but he was a big whiteboarder and he was, oh, that just makes my heart so happy. He's like, "You can have the biggest whiteboard we can fit on that wall."
I
It's
just
like,
cringe sometimes when I'm at the office and I see people, they go, "Can we just remove that whiteboard?" And I'm like, "You guys just don't know the power of a board. You guys gotta just live a little, you know?"
get to live and breathe your work sometimes. And on a side note, since we're talking about whiteboarding and we're apparently whiteboarding geeks, I found that when I was at my whiteboard was along the wall to the door to my office. So it was clear when I was at the whiteboard, people were seeing me literally do the work. And so it gave me credibility, even with people not on my team. But, my CEO would walk by and he would breeze by everybody's offices. But at mine, you could almost hear him come to a screeching halt and he would want to stop and look. And he's like, what you got going on there? Especially in the early days of my journey with this company, it helped me gain trust very quickly. He could see all of my thoughts literally on the whiteboard, and we could either course correct or reinforce what he was thinking, and it really gave me credibility. And because I was director of marketing, I was able to get very quick approval on initiatives that I needed, whether it was ad spend or whatever, because he saw the stuff on the writing was on the wall. And so there is some power to that, right? He was like, I think we need to spend double on that. You're going to double my budget. Wow. So just on a side note, you can also do the same thing I found in my discovery calls. And I think you'll learn this too, Yarden. You've been on one of my discovery calls on the
Loved
client
it.
side. Yeah. And we whiteboarded virtually, right?
Mhm.
We literally mapped things out. And I know that every
That
single
was
discovery call,
wonderful. I loved it.
good. Yeah. You should
I
take that
told you.
idea. Do the same thing on your end with your
Well, I
people.
think anybody in business can do it because I feel like when you map it out, when you map the entire process out, and you can go and find where the errors are when
Hmm.
you detail it out. And honestly, especially with marketing, if you fail fast, you don't have to spend a lot of money to
Yeah.
market. Honestly,
That's right.
you target your ideal people, have the right messaging,
Hmm.
and spend a little bit of money in a week. If it's working, great, do it some more, double it.
Hmm.
It's just
Hmm.
like do what works. If it's not working, stop it. Change some
Yeah.
things. It doesn't have to be a prolonged process. If it's working, good for you. Just put it where the money works. If it's not, change it and
Hmm.
course correct. It's
That's
just
right.
mapping it out is what works. So I think also, as far as entrepreneurs go and taking a leap, I think I've also learned to bet on myself a lot more.
Tell me more about that.
Oh my god, I've been spending so much money. And when I say spending money, I'm like, it's on things that I know I need to do. I'm like, I would never spend money on a business coach. What the hell do I need a business coach for? But it's like I have no idea what it's like to run a business.
Mm.
I would rather fail fast, but I also don't want to fail multiple times at the same
Mm.
thing. So if I'm
Mm.
failing at something, I want to fix it, learn from it, and learn fast as I go.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I think you got to know when to cut your losses, and you also got to know when to hire somebody to help you, because I don't have 3 or 4 years to be wasting to build something. I want to build it now. I don't know what tomorrow brings.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I think I heard a message in what you just shared, and it was something along the lines of fail fast, but solve fast, right? As an entrepreneur, you need to give yourself permission to fail,
right.
but don't set yourself up for failure, right? So you said it's okay to fail fast, but hey, I don't know everything. So I learned that it was worthwhile for me to invest in an example for a business coach. And there's this language we have as entrepreneurs and sometimes as women, which I'm also kind of exploring on the side right now. But there's two things at play, I think, what happens with female entrepreneurs in particular is we feel like it's spending rather than investing.
Mm,
And we have to ask ourselves when we come to this tipping point, is this a spend or an investment?
mm,
And if it's an investment, how do I evaluate this thing that I'm about to invest in? What do I need to know to make this decision relatively objectively versus feeling like I don't deserve this, I'm not worthy of this? Like, it's not about that. You have to kind of put that emotion relatively to the side because every purchase, I think, at the end of the day, and you might attest to this too, Yarden, is especially as a marketer, it's an emotional purchase. Like, there's something at your core that's going to emotionally decide for
right,
you.
right,
But you're also a database lady, as am I to a certain extent. And it's like, well, hold on a second, if I'm going to invest in this course, like we both invested in Trisha's course, the Thrive Her program, Trisha Dempsey, we believed that the value of that course was going to position us to get a client in relatively short order that was going to justify the investment, that was going to be a return on our investment. And we talk a
right.
lot about that in marketing, right? We
Mhm.
know as marketers that whether we're actually doing the ad spend or the investment, that there needs to be a return on that ad spend, which is also called ROAS in the marketing world, or a return on the investment, ROI, just because I don't like speaking in jargon and not having people
Right.
understand. So those are relatively straightforward terms when you actually tell people what the ROI stands for, ROAS. So some people call them ROAS, that second one. But you want to know that when you're in marketing and you're putting money into an expenditure, you're investing that money to come back with a return of 2x, 3x, sometimes 10x, because You know that the goal of the marketing spend is to get people to buy your service or product. So you should be pricing that accordingly and making sure that it's going to not only just cover your ad spend, but give you a profit on the other side. So without going too much into the technical stuff, my belief is that as entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, we have to be very mindful and intentional about where we're investing our money. When you came to me, you saw the value pretty quickly of what it might cost to have a couple of hours of coaching with you to walk you through some thoughts, just walk you through from an objective point of view and give you some insight that was of value to you, right? So you didn't seem to have any concern. You're like, this is great money. I have no qualms about investing my time or my money essentially with you,
Right.
Dawn. And that made me feel good, right? Because I'm giving you tremendous value back. But I'm also learning too, I'm seeing this with women our age and also people who are the next generation. So in their 60s and their 70s, who really have a hard time investing in themselves. And this could be something as simple, to be honest with you, as like a self-care day. I did this the other day, and my stepmom, who I adore, she was just like, wow, I can't even imagine spending that much. Like, I don't feel like I'm worthy of that. I got a manicure and a pedicure. It wasn't like at a nice spa, and it was a fancier manicure and pedicure, meaning I got to go in, I had a robe to change into, I had slippers. Oh, Yarden, you would have loved this, girl. But, I have had some really rough months behind me, and I'm not super
Right.
visible about that in the public. My few people I've shared this with, and you know what? I deserved it. I
Right.
exercised and practiced what you mentioned earlier, grace under fire, and that's part of how I want all of my operating systems to come across. But I also need to reward myself for the trials that I've been through and to say, you know what, you're worth a couple of hours in a quiet
Right.
place being pampered. And the value of that for me, I literally came home and my husband looked at me, he's like, did you get a facial? You just look better. You just look better because I just took care of myself.
Right.
Because we need to do that. It's oxygen mask on first. So to your point earlier, without taking all the time here, you have to practice self-care for yourself and your personal life, but you also want to make sure you integrate that into what you're doing as a business owner. You have ownership and agency when you're an entrepreneur running your own business, and you have the choice. I think there are circumstances that make us feel like we don't have a choice, but at the end of the day, it's all on us. Like, we are the decision makers, and we can either take it and drive it or have it drive us. And I feel like what you shared was, I knew I needed to seek
Mm.
out a
I
business
need
coach.
help. I
Yeah.
need help because I was, you know what? The worst part about it, Dawn, was for someone like me, and I know a lot of women who are, when you're the smartest person in the room all the time, and then you go into this room with the women in our cohorts, I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my God, these women are brilliant.
Mhm. They
And
are.
then like, I have to ask for help. I don't know. And then I got other women who I think are geniuses are telling me,
Mhm.
"Oh no, you're great." And we all suffer from this. Like this is
Yeah,
real.
that's
Like,
real. Mhm.
so and then I had a lady who was 65 the other day, beautiful lady. And when I tell you
Mm.
this lady radiated just
Mm.
essence and just
Oh, I
she
love
the way
that.
she talked, I was like, "Oh my God. I'm not interested in being a public speaker." Not
Mm.
yet anyway. I
Mm.
can't say that down the road that's not something I would want to do, but she was just so blessed and she was just telling me how she has mentors that are younger than her. She has mentors that are older than her. She learns something every day. If she
Mm.
was to die today, she knows that she left an impact on this earth. This was at my job. And I'm like,
Wow.
I had no idea. I always delete the emails and stuff. And my friend, she's like, come down here. You need to hear this. I'm like, how do you know? She's like, we just need to come. So I come down there and she's like, this is for you. And I'm like, okay. I look around and it's barely anybody there because apparently everybody else deleted the email like I did at
Oh.
work, but it was really the most powerful message I had ever heard.
Mm.
And it's okay to ask for help. It doesn't
That's right.
matter if you are an expert. You don't
Mhm.
know everything. And
Mhm.
if you don't know everything, it's okay to say, I don't know. I'll
That's
get back.
right. That's
And
right.
so I'm okay with that now. I was not okay with that before. And
Mm.
recently, I just got humbled at work. I'm not used to getting mediocre. I broke down because that, and the first time in my life, I've been told I was average, but
Mm.
I've been performing average because I have taken an interest into something else that I really enjoy.
Mm.
So I'm not there mentally anymore. I don't know when I'm going to leave. I just know that it's coming.
Mm. I think that's powerful. You took accountability for that so beautifully, Art, and that just shows me that you have so much integrity, not just in that one space. I think you have it across the board because I do know a little bit about you now. And I think that's hard. And I think that's part of the rumble as an entrepreneur and making the decision to go into focus. It sounds like you're getting the signals that you're probably ready to go into focus. And that's part of that fear, right? Maybe that's part of that scary emotion that you carry because I don't know what's coming. There's some uncertainty here, but I know I'm about done here. Like my time here is almost done. And what is it going to look like on the other side? But you have all the requisite skills. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs who are just going to take that first big step, like that probably feels like the biggest step, right? I'm going to disconnect from my corporate life of relative security. That's what we all do. We like either grab our stomach or grab our chest or both. And on the other side of that big first step is the freedom to explore at 100% capacity versus half in, half out, right?
Right.
Because you're getting confirmation in the numbers, which I think for you is your operating system is largely based in data, right? Because that's your
Mhm,
jam.
mhm,
And you're seeing that and that converts and translates to you. Like that's your language. So you're seeing it and it was painful to get that, you know, review,
mhm.
but it's also like, well, shit, excuse my language. Like
Right.
maybe that like I
It's
put
like
myself there, right?
right. And he was so delicate, but I was so angry with him. He was like, "I'll change it." And I'm like, "No, don't change it. I'm just gonna walk away." So I sat down and I'm sitting in my feelings and I'm like, I don't want him to change it because I know that it's bad.
Yeah.
But for
It
him
was
to tell me,
validation.
well, for him to tell me like most of the time you're really good, but like lately, which he said that to me, and I'm just like, well, I haven't
Yeah.
all been there, and you don't know what I'm going through, and it's that's not on him.
That's right.
So he just gave
That's
me
right.
what it's all subjective to me, but like it's
Yeah.
relative to him. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna just go sit in my feelings and then I'm gonna get over it.
I gotta tell you, I had a similar experience when I was about to exit corporate. You know, whether we make the choice to leave, which I did, and it sounds like you're going to probably be ahead of that
Right.
and be proactive and make your decision. I had a similar moment and I had had like stellar reviews, like on repeat the whole
Right.
way along. And then I got jammed up in this last review and it was painful. I'm not going to lie. I am not a crier. I'm emotional, meaning I am empathetic and I hold a lot of compassion for people. But I'm also not one of those women that cries over everything. It's just how it's part of my past. But man, I just fell apart in that review. It was kind of humiliating and it's really vulnerable for me to go out to the world with this story, but no one was firing me. It was just a bad review.
Right.
And I knew, I think in the back of my mind that this was coming. And sometimes what inspires us to take action and to nudge us like a real like a sharp elbow nudge, not like a hey, hey, it's like, you know, is these moments in
Right.
corporate. And I looked across from the table at the person giving me my review, and it was my manager. And I realized that at that moment she was a teacher. And there was a gift in that signal to make a decision. And again, you got to sit in those feelings and damn, I just like, can I just have a couple minutes? Cause I wear makeup. My makeup was like, I can't walk back down the hall. Like I just keep my dignity intact because I knew if the CEO saw me, I was probably cry harder. So I think we have to have sometimes those moments, Yarden, where we're just confronted with the reality. There's a decision and a turning point. We're coming up on that curve, right? We're running out of the runway here. But once we turn the corner, we've got a whole long runway ahead of us to choose and feel like we have agency over the next steps. We always have agency. Sometimes it just doesn't look so pretty. And I think to talk with you and know that you had that experience allows me to open up and share my experience. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. And the road to entrepreneurship is, it's like a
Definitely.
roller coaster.
Listen, I've been humbled so much in the last 8 months. I've always been humble, mainly because I'm a 6 feet and 200 plus. I ain't gonna say how much I weigh, but I've always been told to keep it like stay under the radar because
Mm,
already bring a lot of attention to myself. So
mm,
like, but I'm also very opinionated. There's just a lot that comes with me. So I think that I have this intimidating. I don't mean to be. This is just who I am.
mm.
So I'm crying and he's looking at me. He's like,
What
why?
happened here?
I'm just like, just breaking down. Let me go walk away because I'm falling apart here. This has nothing to do with him. He's never
Mm,
seen me like this. And
mm,
so I just go sit down and I know I've been subpar, if that, you know.
yeah,
So it's okay.
yeah. Yeah. And you owned it, right? Like, again, I think here's the power of midlife female entrepreneurs. I'm going to just put it out there. Like, one of our superpowers is we get it. We're seeing it. We'll own it. We're not 20 somethings. Not that every 20 something does this, because I know some 20
Right, right.
somethings who have a lot more integrity than a lot of 50 somethings I know. But listen, we're going to call the ball. We're going to call it like we see it and say, I messed up or my mistake. I'm going to own this and say, you're right. There's a lot of power in telling somebody, you're right, I made a mistake and I'm going to fix it, or I'm going to explore that, or I'm going to deconstruct it and make sure in the future it doesn't happen again. Like, whatever happens at this turning point, you just take extreme ownership. There's a book called Extreme Ownership by a former Navy SEAL named Jocko Willink. It's one of my favorite books. When you just take extreme ownership over something, it's almost liberating and
Mm.
everyone can kind of accept it. And it's clear to everyone on your team, whatever that team around, again, family, friends, business, we can trust this person. We can get behind this person. They're fallible, which means it's okay for me to be fallible. And we move on. Let's go forward, one more step in front of the other. And I think you demonstrated that so beautifully, Arden.
Oh,
Even saying, like, I need a minute. I say that in my marriage with my husband when he's talking to his guy friends. That's not 60 seconds. That means, like, maybe tomorrow morning we'll regroup.
not my husband.
But
He he's like, I just need to go to my mom's. And I'm like, why? He's like, you just too much right now. And he's like, you just won't stop talking. I can't get a word in, and I'm not gonna win. I'm going to my mom's. I'm like, just just be back before dinner.
yeah, circle back. We got it. You'll circle back.
I just think overall, Dawn, I'm almost 40. I don't got too much time to waste. So I just want to figure it out,
You're
you know.
figuring it out, girl. You just have so much going for you. And I know it's hard right now. We're all in those moments. We have these. By the way, when you become an entrepreneur, that first big step, that's not your only hard moment. They come at any time in any place. So there's going to be more of them. It's just like boot camp for
Got it,
entrepreneurs, that big
girl.
first step,
Uh,
right?
hurting on
Um,
the inside.
yeah.
I
But
know. I
you,
got a lot of big girl decisions I got to make. You
yeah.
know,
And
that's
aren't we lucky we get to make them?
yeah, honestly,
Right.
because I mean, I know a lot of people who are older than me in circumstances where they have made some really poor decisions and
Mhm.
they were given opportunities, but they continuously made poor decisions. And I've learned from them. I'm one of
Yeah.
those people. I learned from the people that made bad decisions.
Yeah, same
Yes.
here because you're astute and you observe. You
Right.
have this ability. And I have to say too, I just so admire you for what you shared about how you show up. like your physical presence, but also your spiritual presence. And, I am not 6 feet. I am a teeny thing. I'm 5'3" and just over like 100 pounds. And because we have these relationships all over Zoom, like none of us know how we take up space in the world until like you actually share that. And my biggest struggle is I'll show up on scene in any capacity, whether it's as photographer or in the corporate world or on site with a client, and I have to really embrace that. I just have to show them my stuff because you don't look very strong mind, strong body. But I just show up and I do my thing. And oftentimes I have people come around, and I've done some work with law enforcement and military, and it's all men, and I'm this blonde, small little thing. And I show up with a lot of camera gear, usually photography. And then I've had some of these guys come up and at the end of the 10-hour day shooting stuff and like out in scenario shooting, high speed chases and the stuff. And I'm like hanging out a sunroof and shooting photography. And they'll come up to me at the end of the day and say, I totally underestimated you just by how you looked. I am so sorry. I'm like, it happens, but I'm here to work. And I will work hard. And oh, no doubt. We saw that today. You can keep up with all of us. And I said, yeah, but I can't show up and tell you that. So to overcome these things, you saw the other side of your situation, right? People just make this assumption and they're intimidated oftentimes just because of how you take up space. And I have the opposite. So it's like, I haven't seen the Barbie movie, but I know there's a scene in that with America Ferrera. It's almost like you're never in the right size, shape, mind. Like it's just hard being a woman. And I think it's hard being an entrepreneur. And you've inspired me with the story that you've shared today about your journey and how you want to position yourself to help coaches and consultants with your marketing and your data expertise, which I know is just going to catch fire. I'm just waiting for somebody to drop that match and it's going to blow up for you. But thank you for that perspective. And
thanks,
for sharing in a vulnerable way and just having girl talk with me on top of it all about business and stuff.
He's such a sweetie.
Oh, thanks. What else can we do to share you? Let's talk about how people find you. I think you're probably on LinkedIn quite a bit.
Once I get everything together, I'm going to relaunch it and then I'll be more active on LinkedIn.
In the show notes for the podcast, if you guys want to find Yarden, I'm going to put your LinkedIn profile URL. And Yarden's name is Yarden Carroll, Carroll. And so I'm sure if they just typed you into Google or LinkedIn search, they'll come across you. And if you guys need to find her, just go ahead and send me a direct message on LinkedIn. I'm always there. And we will help you find your way to Miss Yarden Carroll and Crowne Creative, and she can help you out. So Yarden, thank you so very much for today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Dawn. Thanks.
We are so grateful that you tuned in to today's episode. And no matter where you're listening, whether it's in your car, at your desk, at the gym, folding laundry, we hope that it brought you some valuable insights. And if you're a female entrepreneur who has recently experienced leaving corporate by choice or not by choice, we are always looking for other midlife female entrepreneurs out there to join us on the podcast. So again, go to tracerstrategicmarketing.com/podcast to get all the details and potentially join us on a future episode.